Where you live right now, I want you to arrest that people because you are the one who came to my house with not 1 meter protection. Get out of here! Why don't you go to Manny Pacquiao house? I'm doing this. They are the ones. Sorry.
What the hell is happening in this country? I thought the government is only focusing on trying to curb the spread of the coronavirus or the CPP virus. It's now using too much, unconstitutional draconian measures in order to what? I don't know the reason why the government has been doing all these draconian measures. And we've seen so much abuses in the past. For example, the murder or killing of a former soldier, Winston Ragus. He's mentally unstable, and according to the military, he's suffering from PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. He's not in his right mind, and we still don't know why they had to arrest him. Probably he's not wearing, a mask, and that guy was shot down, gunned down by the police for what reason? And we have this story about, another overreach, and another overkill by local authorities, by this time Makati police. I'm from Makati, and tell us, the people in the government should tell us whether, the our property is no longer part of our property. For example, our house, the driveway, which part of our property is or can be encroached upon by the police or by authorities? Which part of our house, for example, our dwelling, can be trespassed by the police? All right. So this story, for example, the Makati police said they will be filing charges against a foreign resident of an exclusive village for disobeying authorities under the enhanced community quarantine. And according to another story or tweet from Rappler, he's in his driveway, for God's sake. All right. So wearing face mask is necessary. I'm not against that. What I'm against is draconian measures, overkill measures, laws or policies that don't make sense at all. Okay, if you're inside the confines of your home, you can, you can or cannot wear mask. That's your discretion. And you should know when you're sick or not. And you should have, the responsibility to self-isolate yourself inside the confines of your home, inside the four corners of your home. If you think, you're sick or you have fever, you have symptoms of SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, it's your responsibility to isolate yourself. And I don't think this guy is irresponsible enough, to not wear face mask within, the comforts of his own home. And as you can see, part of your property, I think, is of course the garage, the driveway. What else? The whole front yard. That's already part of your property. And all I know is that during this pandemic, the Bill of Rights is still not suspended, right? The Bill of Rights, the rights of the people to not be subject to arrest without warrant, for example, the right to your property, life, and pursuit of happiness. These are still in operation despite the pandemic, right? Roque, Mr. Roque, the spokesperson of Duterte, should tell us right now whether all the rights that we have under the Bill of Rights are already suspended temporarily because of this pandemic, because of this enhanced community quarantine that we are going through. give us the rules now. Okay, give us the rules, because we don't know that, we might be doing something within the confines of our property, in our backyard, for example, without wearing masks. All right. And we live in a gated community, for example. And for those, who are lucky enough to live in a gated house, they live in a gated house. Inside the gated house, they tell those people that they can still, not wear mask and not be arrested, right? Because if this is the case, as this video that I'm gonna show you is actually an example of an overkill. This is already the aftermath. All right. Uh, this guy is already a foreigner in this video. Is living in a posh subdivision or village in Makati. Is already confronting this military guy in uniform after the fact. Okay. The military guy in this video already tried to arrest this foreign resident in Makati. But let me just show you, because it's the, well, of course, the police has to save their own out us, and they have to say that we're gonna file charges against that guy for violating community quarantine. What violation are they talking about? All right, so let's just check. So police, Makati Police Chief Rogelio Simon said his men accosted the house helper of the said foreigner for not wearing a mask outside the residence. So it's the helper who was accosted, not the foreigner. So let's just uh, set that straight. So an earlier video that circulated on social media showed a police officer assaulting and attempting to arrest the man in his private property. I'm gonna show you that. This is from Rappler. Warning: this video contains violent images that may be disturbing to some viewers. I just viewed this like a few minutes ago. Watch: man in private village assaulted, nearly arrested without warrant by Makati police for alleged lockdown violation in his home. So we've established earlier that the reason for the arrest is the helper was not wearing masks. So I don't know what happened after that. Probably this owner of the house, this foreign resident, tried to talk to the police officers, and he's not wearing mask for some reason, and he's still within the vicinity of his own property. All right, so this is actually a very disturbing video. So let's just continue reading. Makati police tried to arrest a man while in his driveway in Dasmariñas village, Makati City, on Sunday, April 26th. So this was yesterday. Today is Monday. Javier Salvador Parras says he was assaulted and injured. So this is the name of the guy, the owner or private property owner. Javier Salvador Parra said he was assaulted and injured after he tried to argue when the police demanded a 1,000 fine for Parra's household staff alleged violations. So as we said earlier, they were trying to arrest and fine Mr. Parra's household helper. His staff was not wearing a face mask while watering plants. So she's watering plants within the vicinity of their own property. So that's still part of the property. All right. They're not in a public place. So they need to define the police authorities. Mr. Roque, the spokesperson of Duterte, should tell us right now where we can be arrested. Where the hell can police authorities arrest us? Okay, can they arrest us while we are in our backyard? Which is, what if that backyard is gated? Can they still arrest us for not wearing masks? All right. All I know is that if we are within the confines or within the vicinity of our own property, But here's the video. This is a very, very disturbing video, just to let you know. And this is the start of...
Don't, hey, Kuya, what's going on? Don't, hey, Kuya, what's going on? Hey, you're in our... Kuya, no. Kuya, you're in trespassing our house. You're trespassing our house. What are you doing? Kuya! Kuya, please! What are you doing? Close. Kuya, what are you doing? He's injured. Kuya, he's injured with his back. It's life threatening, Kuya. Please.
Baby, call please.
Please. Kuya, you're in our house. You're trespassing.
Please.
Help! Help! Kuya! He's injured and life-threatening, Kuya! Come on! Come on!
Take our policemen.
Stop.
Kuya, come on! This is violence! What are you doing?
Stop.
What are you doing?
Stop.
Kuya, please, you're in our house!
Stop.
Don't do that! Kuya, don't do that!
Stop.
Hey, Kuya, take off your mask so I can see you here!
Pull off.
I'm arresting him.
Kuya.
Kuya,
arresting you.
you cannot arrest somebody in our house. You have to have a warrant, Kuya.
Get out, Kuya.
You have to have a warrant.
Relax.
You have to
Relax.
have
I'm
a
arresting
warrant,
you too.
Kuya.
Relax.
No, because he's injured,
relax.
and you are very.
No.
We know. Kuya.
You're
Relax.
supposed to.
No,
Relax.
Kuya.
Relax right now.
Kuya,
Relax.
you don't have a warrant to arrest anybody in our property,
I'm
Kuya.
arresting you in my presence.
Relax.
Take off your mask so we can see you.
Relax.
No,
Take
ma'am.
off your.
Look at
I
my
will
children.
arrest you too.
Look at
Take
my
off,
children.
please.
No.
Please, Kuya. Please, Kuya.
I'm arresting you.
You're not.
I'm arresting you.
Kuya, go inside. Go inside, baby. Go inside. Kuya, give me a warrant to arrest my husband. But don't come in our house.
In my presence.
Don't come in our house, Kuya.
No.
We will follow you, motherfucker.
Go in your... Kuya, get the head. I will talk with him.
Call Ralph. Call everybody.
Sorry, baby. Please, come.
Right, so the police was trying to arrest the guy for trying to defend his household staff. He's probably trying to argue that, hey, my household staff is still trying to water plants within my property. So as you can see, that's the front yard, right, of the property. And that's the reason why I kept telling, they need to tell us, you know, if we can be arrested within the confines of our home. Because if they can arrest us within the front yard, if we are in the front yard not wearing masks, watering the plants, for example, if that's the case, they can arrest us while inside our home, right? That's the logical direction of the police action here, which is totally irresponsible. It's unconstitutional. It's showing that the police are totally uneducated. All right, I'm for this community quarantine, but what I'm not for, what I'm against is, total disregard of the rule of law, total disregard of common sense. These are already not commonsensical already. The rules that they're trying to implement. We need to have logical rules. If the authorities think that they can arrest us within our property for not wearing masks, they need to tell us right away. All right, so that we know when we are violating the rules. So the first video that I've shown you is already the aftermath, in which this man, Mr. Para, was already telling, go to Manny Pacquiao's house and you might see that they're probably not wearing face masks at all. Try to go to any property in Dasmariñas in condominiums, and you're gonna arrest a lot of people. Try to go to a senator's mansion. You're probably gonna be arresting a lot of households there for not wearing mask. All right, so this is this is very unfortunate actually to see these violations of people's rights. So I'm just gonna show you something here because uh, I've seen a comment, a DDS, for example, this Antonio Murillo. I like the comments here because, for example, this one posted Article 3 of the Bill of Rights. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. So are we supposed to think now that the Bill of Rights is already suspended during this pandemic? They need to tell us. We're the ones suffering from the police authorities' abuse of power. All right, this is no longer partisan. Whether you're a DDS, whether you're a fanatic of Duterte, this can happen to you because I've seen people being arrested. Some of them were DDS. For example, I read a story of a teacher in Jansan who was arrested by the police for inciting to sedition. And he said in his Facebook post that magsusumbong daw siya kay Duterte. He's gonna report the mayor of the town to Duterte for not distributing, you know, for not distributing the goods or the ayuda to the people timely and or in time, and he even said that susugurin daw nila yung gym. All right, based on his Facebook post, that teacher who was arrested for inciting to sedition or for violating the quarantine rules is a DDS. Right. This is no longer about whether you're a DDS or whether you're a Dilawan. I'm neither a DDS nor Dilawan. All right. I was a critic of Noy Noy as well when he was president. So spare me the labels DDS. All right, and this administration is crazy. I like the comments here. Crazy from Torque Brian, for example. This administration is crazy. This is if this had happened without SOCMED, God only social media is SOCMED. God only knows how many violations will have gone unnoticed, which is correct. We are not yet living under. So yeah, we are not yet under martial rule. All right. The writ of habeas corpus is not yet suspended. That's the purpose of the martial rule. We can be detained, we can be arrested without any warrant at all. So are we under martial rule now? And according to the president, no. So that guy and his household helper have all the protection of the law. All right, the Bill of Rights is still in operation, as in right now, yesterday, and right now at this very moment, until Congress, until Congress is gonna declare martial rule with the consent of Congress, of course, because we are a constitutional republic. And then, of course, we are not yet living under martial rule regime. Dare you imagine what kind of warrantless arrests and abuses of authority can this so-called leader in Malacanang do if we allow him martial law? So it's very unfortunate that the government is supposed to be focusing more on resolving this issue. Instead, the priorities is totally misplaced. Instead, they're setting up too many draconian rules, right? Probably it's more convenient to apply and execute draconian rules instead of conducting massive tests, because South Korea, for example, never implemented lockdown at all. No quarantine rules. Why? Because South Korea on day one, they they performed 20,000 tests, okay, coronavirus tests per day. Why? According to the foreign minister, why did they have to do that? Because they had to, the purpose is to isolate the virus. The purpose is to quarantine those suspected COVID patients and those confirmed, isolate them from the community so that the rest will have to continue with their lives.
The basic principle is openness, transparency, fully keeping the public informed. And I think this is paying off. We have a very good healthcare system to begin with. We have a system that is highly wired, as you can imagine, and fully utilizing that, we have dealt with this outbreak from the very beginning with transparency, and that's the way we've won the public trust and support for this. And as you say, we are seeing a stabilizing trend. For 3 days in a row, the number of newly confirmed positive cases is smaller than the number of those fully cured and released.
You've also got the most extraordinary testing system. You're testing, I think, 20,000 people a day,
Yes.
which is far more than any other country of your size. How have you managed to achieve this, and why is testing central to what you're doing?
Well, first of all, testing is central because that leads to early detection. It minimizes further spread, and it quickly treats those found with the virus. That's the key behind our very low fatality rate as well. And so I think our testing is nearly 250,000 at this point, 268,000 as of today.
The other thing that you do, of course, is that you monitor people afterwards. You're not going into the same kind of lockdown, the social
Yes.
exclusion that a lot of European countries are, but instead you're monitoring people by phone app. Again, can you explain why you're doing that and not closing down large chunks of your country?
Well, I think this is being faithful to the values of our very vibrant democracy, which is open and, the government fully in the service of the people. And I have to say our public is very demanding, expects the highest standards from government services. And I think this is the key. We are...
So South Korea did not execute draconian rules or lockdown, because they knew that it's going to hurt their economy. All right, South Koreans are very smart in this, and apart from that, they had to tap technology. So they use applications in order to monitor the COVID patients and those suspected of COVID, and they had to do that very early. In our case, the government never conducted thousands upon thousands of tests on the first 15 days. And we've heard from the authorities that we only had like 2,000 test kits on the first week of the lockdown. And now we have like 64,000 tests so far, up to 84,000. Less than 100,000 tests done, all right, in nearly 2 months already. It's gonna be 2 months on May 15th, and before we can end the lockdown, logic tell us that we need to have conducted thousands upon thousands of tests. The United States, for example, conducted over 5 million tests already. That's the reason why they were able to say that, well, we have hundreds of thousands of confirmed, COVID patients or COVID carriers. In our case, a lot of stupid Filipinos, stupid DDS, I must say, are like so happy that we only have a few thousand cases. Why do we have a few thousand cases? Because our government, the DOH, only conducted a few thousand tests. All right. Compare that with the 600,000 plus tests conducted by South Korea. And I think we just conducted like less than 80,000 tests today, up until today. Less than 100,000, and we are 100 million people. And there are more than 100 million inhabitants in this country. So the priorities are totally misplaced. And it's so unfortunate that we have this type of government. They don't exactly know what they're doing. So anyways, someone responded, for example, an obvious DDS. I'm just gonna show you his profile after this. So, uh, when someone is using an alter account or an account which has no picture, that person is showing his true behavior. All right, all the dummy accounts, the dummy account versus the real account. The dummy account is the one showing his true behavior, true personality, because he knows that there is impunity. He knows that he's not going to be exposed, right? Because he's simply using a troll account. And this is an example of this. I don't know if Antonio Murillo is a real person, probably, but he's showing his true behavior, his true ideology here. Magjokol ka na lang, he said. Yes to martial law. Then these are the type of people who favor martial law. In fact, psychologically, they don't have discipline. Actually, they're not disciplined people, and yet they have the guts and the gall to call for martial law. These people are gonna be the ones to be arrested first if we were under martial rule. All right. So going back to this is already the confrontation after all those that the attempted arrest were um, done. So um, he's already confronting the police.
This is not allowed to do. Who are you?
So if you notice, a lot of people were like disparaging the foreigner. For example, the nerve to insult and curse. These people don't know what's going on. They just simply they're the types of people who are simply reading the headline. For example, that foreigner, that person, so deport according to Martin P. Duquesne, and they don't know the story at all. They don't know the story. According to the police, the Makati police, they will be filing charges against this foreign resident, Mr. Para, for defending his household staff. So, isn't that cute, right? So unfortunate that the government is focusing on nonsensical, uh, draconian rules instead of trying to fight the virus. And the only way to fight the virus as of this moment is we're not just waiting for the vaccine. According to authorities, according to health experts, it may take some time. It's going to take months. And in many cases, it's going to take 1 year or over 1 year, right? The best thing that the health authorities can do is conduct, you know, thousands, 20,000 tests per day, and that's what the United States is trying to do. They're trying to double, the number of tests, despite already conducting 5 million tests already. All right. So in our case, the only way we can isolate the people who are, suffering or carrying the virus is to test them. To test them. That's the best thing that the government can do instead of focusing on all of this nonsensical stuff. And I'm just wondering how many people could be exposed to the virus if they were arrested and incarcerated in some place that is crowded, for example. The police is actually exposing these people to the virus in some cases. I'm not saying that in all cases, but in some cases, right? So that's my 2 cents for today. Please stay safe. I'm not saying I'm against quarantine rules. I'm actually for it. But what people is against is actually nonsensical, laws, nonsensical, policies that don't make sense at all. Policies that are stupidly created and enforced. And that's what I'm against.